Hello and welcome. My name is Cindy Harrison. I'm a decorative painter. I live in New Hampshire and I've been painting for over 20 years, teaching the art of decorative painting as well throughout the United States. I've been published in US magazines and Asia. Today I want to talk about Ukrainian Easter eggs with a professional Easter egg decorator. Her name is Ruth de Jesus, correct?
Yeah. Hi.
She's from New Hampshire as well. And take it away, Ruth. Tell us about what you do and how you do it.
Okay. Well, just a little background on myself. I am not Ukrainian. I do have Eastern European background. Can you go shut that fan off, please? Yeah. Thanks. But I grew up in Massachusetts and my parents were very musical and I enjoy music, but I don't play any musical instruments. And we always went to this event in Natick, Mass at the high school called the New England Folk Festival. And it was amazing because it had all kinds of arts and crafts. And it also had the whole cafeteria was all different nationalities of people bringing food. And so it was like an all day event and just super fun. And they taught things like how to build dulcimers and so many different things. And my gravitation was to the lady that taught the Ukrainian Easter eggs. So every year, probably from age 8, I would say maybe 7 or 8 to probably about 16 or 17 that I went. And every year I would take the class with her. And every year I would come home with a beautifully decorated Ukrainian Easter egg. And that passion continued. I didn't do it probably at all through high school or the end of high school and college, but I did take it back up when I moved up here to New Hampshire, got married, and bought myself some tools at a little crafty shop in Durham. And I think the old Ben Franklin had the dies every year. They would bring the dies in. And so it was really something that you could participate in, even if you had little to no background in the art form. And I just think that really anything anyone does on these is beautiful. Just the shape of the egg is amazing. It looks great as a Christmas ornament or something if you have a bay window that you could hang it, as a day-to-day type thing that you wanted to have out. They're very tiny. Of course, they're just made with eggs, but I do have some goose eggs and duck eggs that are a little bit larger than chicken eggs. So you do have variety in size. And I guess I just continued. Now, of course, everything's online. I buy all my stuff through a Ukrainian Easter egg company online. And, they're super fast. They deliver really quickly and they have all kinds of informational things. I tend to be a little bit more loose and free with my eggs and not as structured as a traditional egg would be, very portioned off and structured. And I sent you some pictures of the eggs that I've been doing recently, and they're very just very artistic. I think really, like I said, doing anything at all on the egg, even just dots and randomly putting it in different colors, then when you reveal at the end, it's just such an amazing thing.
Yes. So some of the pictures you sent me, I put into this little video that will show them the different varieties of eggs that you've created. Yes, they're not your typical traditional Ukrainian eggs, but they are representative of you or whoever it is that's making them. And so they have a lot of that personality in there. And I love the colors and the things that you have created, and even some of the pictures of your student, because you do teach in your area.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Photos like the one at the start of this video is a person that I had just taught, just her, brand new first time ever holding the tools. And, it's really crazy because it's definitely the opposite of painting, because you're going from like the white in someone's eye. If you want the white in someone's eye, like a animal, like I have some with owls and things. Yeah, that's going to be the reflection of the light. you have to put that in first because you're starting with white and going darker as opposed to going from the darker or from the back of a picture and coming forward. So you just have to think about everything that's going to be light.
So it's
in your
it's
egg.
opposite. Instead of adding the highlights to something, you're doing those first. Oh, so that could be confusing.
It is definitely confusing. That's why I definitely tend to have people sketch out what they want on a blank sheet of paper, kind of like this. I don't know if that's going to show up. There's just a blank egg. So one side, the front and the side, and then you list down the colors that you're going to use. And the colors have to be done in a certain order. You're going to start obviously with the white of the egg. So everything you want to do white, you need to get the white things covered up, and because it's like a wax that you're putting on. And I had a candle going and it went out. I was just going to show you how to put it on, put the wax on.
So it's
the egg
type of wax. Does it matter what type of wax it is?
Yes, it's really very important that it's beeswax. Otherwise it won't come off well.
Oh.
If you tried to use just candle wax, it wouldn't come off at all.
And do you hollow the eggs out first or last? Or no?
I do hollow them out. Back in the day when I was learning from my teacher at the folk festival, I did not hollow them out. They stayed completely intact, and eventually the egg contents in the inside will harden and become kind of like a little ball inside of there. It's super important if you do that. Number one, to check over the egg so well for fine cracks and imperfections, any imperfections you'd want to avoid that egg. And it's also super important after it's done to leave it in a very well ventilated area. Do not put it inside of your, let's say a china closet or something, or inside a cupboard in your kitchen, because no ventilation will cause the gases to build up, and then it will explode.
That would be
so. When we're doing these eggs, we bore out a tiny little hole right at the tip, usually at the top, because we can put a little ornament on to hold the the egg. It's like a little tiny.
Pretty. Oh yes.
Gold thing with a little tiny hole through it, so you can hang it. So that's the little dragonfly that I sent you a photo of.
Oh, that's beautiful.
With just green leaves and kind of reedy. And then you blow in. I don't have the little tool handy version. Mine is the little plastic yellow one that you just squeeze in. And when you put the pressure in the egg, the rest of the egg comes out because it's gravity and it's pushing it out. Very often you'll think that the egg is totally perfect, and all of a sudden it will explode, and you'll be like, oh. So you're glad that you didn't spend, several hours decorating and then have that explode later on. So that's predominantly why I do empty the eggs out, because for teaching people, someone's going to go home and they're going to put it in one of these egg cartons, these clear ones, and that's just way too confined. Way too confined. If I store them in those to keep them safe, until we use them as decorations, the paper carton would be much more practical if you had the egg content still inside, but I like to empty the egg out. It's just safer. When you do put it into the die, so here's your die. I'm not actually going to put this one in there because I'm not ready to do that yet, but you would have to hold it down with something heavy. A lot of times I'll use like a small jar to hold it down, or I'll just use a spoon and stand there and hold the egg under the die with that. The die is so incredibly vivid that hardly at all it stays in less than 5 minutes, definitely less than 10 minutes. So you're not standing around trying to, hold it under the die for very long. They're super vivid.
If the spoon is holding it down, does that cause a problem with the ability for the dye to get to that area? Are you going to make a design that way?
It could. You might want to move it around a little bit inside the die, but like I said, the die takes really fast.
Okay. So for those of you who are
David
checking in now, this is Cindy Harrison and Ruth de Jesus, and she is our local
you get me a better lighter.
Ukrainian Easter egg decorator with a twist, because she is very, as she's showing us, very loose designs and allowing her students to create from their own mind and heart what designs they would like to put on their Easter eggs.
And the other thing, so I love to let people read or, you know, just enjoy something. And this is one of my favorite books. It's Rashenka's Eggs by Patricia Polacco. And it's interesting. One of the pictures in the class that I sent you, it's an older lady with a turquoise blouse on and a turquoise scarf, and her egg ended up being turquoise and yellow. And really, I said, you did that after your scarf. And she said, oh, no, it's just my favorite colors. I said, I totally know that. So she used to teach, I want to say in California or Seattle or somewhere. Anyways, one of Patricia Polacco's kids was in, maybe she was the administrator in the school, like the principal or something. And she said that as a gift, Patricia Polacco gave her a that she had created, and then one that the child had created. So this is an amazing book about an older lady, and it goes through her doing the blowing, and she blows them out after she decorates them, which to me, if there was a crack in the egg at that point, I think I'd cry, which is why I do it before. But it's an amazing children's book. And the other book I'll recommend is Anything by Ed Emberley. He teaches drawing from just such a basic. So here's that's to start out doing a pirate parrot. And you're starting with just angles and lines and in half circles, and you're building up to getting a parrot. So if someone says, I can't draw you name it. Right. When you break it down to the most basic steps, you actually can, and it comes out looking like what you wanted it to look like. Cool. Super duper basic, and I'm like the elementary level of drawing, but it does break it down so that you understand, oh, that's right. If I look at that object, now I can break it down into the shapes that it is. Yep, Emberley. Sorry.
Okay. So I put that in there. I like the idea that it has the step-by-step. So the first lines would be white, is what you're telling us? The first line?
Everything that you're putting on your egg at first is going to be white. So here I have
beautiful.
My very, very traditional shape that I've been doing a lot lately. Just a lot of swirly lines. And what I did, because I didn't want to have the super dark green really all over the entire thing, is I use a small paintbrush or a Q-tip to dip into the paint and put it precisely where I want just the green. For the most part, you're going to go from light to dark, from white through yellow into your golds. And then, so I have a list of the way the colors go down from lightest to darkest. And then at the very end is black. Anytime you put black on, it's just impregnates the entire egg black, and it's jet black. I think we have, this little tiny little pair of owls on a tree branch. And that is just the black of the dye. There's nothing else in the background at all. So it's very, very black. And like I said, the little whites of the guy's eyes have to come on first. I don't know if you can see the little,
yeah, I see them.
Little whites on their eyes.
They're so cute.
So just reminding yourself, it's the opposite thought pattern as it would be for painting.
Okay.
Like you said, the highlights come on even right at the very beginning. So
Oh.
knowing that, planning it out, planning what you're going to do is kind of important. So I'm going to grab a tool. Now, these are the really traditional tools. Here's a brand new one.
Okay.
Never been used. Never had anything in it. And it's just a tiny little funnel attached to the wooden stick. And then as you start to use them, they get really burnt up and really ugly looking. I do kind of prefer the newer plastic ones. Here's a clean, never been used. But there's basically your 3 different sizes, and larger size would be for filling in spaces. And if you want to fill in like a really giant space, like for instance, when I'm done and I want to fill in this, over the candle is hot.
Oh, don't do that.
Fill in the larger portion of the flower so that I can dye the background black. I'll probably heat up my kiska, which is what this is called, the kiska, and kind of dump it on upside down, because that's a lot of space to fill in with the tiny end of the tool.
Okay.
So that's kind of like a handy little tip there. If it's a ton of space to fill in, you do want some control, so be careful it's not, coming out too fast. And what I tell people is just keep practicing. Practice, do a zillion eggs, and you'll be good. The other thing about buying eggs is they need to be from a farm that handles them without a lot of washing and without passing them through any type of conveyor belt, because the ones in the store have literally rolled down a conveyor belt on their side. A rubber conveyor belt. So all that rubber is going to impregnate the chubbiest part around the egg. And if you've ever dyed Easter eggs just with the paws, over the counter stuff, and notice that the center of the egg is lighter, that's why. And those dyes are not as vivid either. So the likelihood that maybe this would cover that, it might, but it's very hard if you make a mistake. I have one instruction manual that says if you make a mistake, you can use lighter fluid to try to get the wax off. If you make a mistake, work through it, turn it into something that's going to be the art of the egg, or just move to a different egg. Is my opinion on that. I wouldn't even bother trying to get the wax off at that point. So what I'm going to do is heat up my kiska, and the blocks of beeswax, pretty much, if you order them from the company, they come in just a little square. It's about 1.5 inches square, and they end up getting black because you're putting something super hot on them. So this is one that's been well used, and the wax goes from being this color to the black on the egg. Sometimes if it's very new and you've filled up your kiska with a lot of wax, it will start coming out light. I guess there's a line on here. The edge of this tree is just super, super light. It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can kind of see it. It's much lighter brown or black than the black of the rest of the lines. And it does sometimes look lighter.
Do you prefer working with the natural color wax, or, I mean, I've seen
they do sell a black wax.
Okay.
I think you can buy a black wax, but it's, in my opinion, you don't need it. I just bought a couple of pounds of regular standard beeswax so I could do other things with it, and then also do the egg decorating. So what I'm doing here, I guess we can't
show it.
see this.
Pick up the candle.
Yeah, pick up the candle. Is I'm heating up just the little funnel part of the kiska,
Okay.
And there's wax in there already, and now that's on fire. So you do want to be just watching out for fire and things like that while you're doing this. It's very easy to burn yourself. So what I'm going to do is I decorated this egg with the parts that I wanted white. And then just while we were actually trying to log on, I was adding the green with the paintbrush, and I just blotted it dry. And once it's dry, I'm just going to add, and it's totally perpendicular to the egg.
So you say with a paintbrush, is it you're adding green dye with a paintbrush?
Yeah, green dye with the paintbrush. So I just dipped it in the green really gently and just added it exactly where I wanted it, because I figured that this is a tiny, tiny area. And I'm going to probably do like maybe yellow and pink or red and pink, something like that. And I don't want the green. I don't want to have to take a step where I cover a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm just going to put the green on and then quickly cover it up. So now that this is hot and it's very liquidy inside and it's very liquidy on the outside. And when I fill up the hole in the center that I've blown the egg out with, I use, the tip of this to dip it right down inside and fill that hole up so that it doesn't absorb any dye from the inside.
Okay.
So I'm just going to cover up these green spots, and I kind of use the pinky to hold. So I'm perpendicular. Whoops.
Yep.
I am completely perpendicular to the egg with the tip of the funnel, and
it only
filling in the spots.
It only comes out when you touch it. It's not like it doesn't drip.
It does. It's kind of that capillary effect. It will, if it's super, super hot. Let me get some that's really super hot. If it's super, super hot.
My fear is I'd move it across the table and it would drip all over.
Right. If it's super duper hot, it will, it will drip out a little bit. And I'll just blot it right back onto my wax, because this is all good wax.
Okay. Great.
And then, so if you do get a big blob,
no waste,
and you have like a plastic, if you have a plastic tablecloth, I'll peel the little blobs that drop off and use them again, just because they're so thin and they just fit right down inside of here very well. So Here we are. It's hot, and I'm going to go perpendicular to the egg.
Okay.
Kind of hard. I'm going to stand above it to actually see it.
Don't catch on.
Yeah, no, it's warm, but it's not too bad. So I fill in all the things that I want to stay green. And I took a picture of my my setup here. I have one of those little phone holders for the car.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And we brought my daughter's little betta fish out in his fish tank. So he's helping hold the phone. So it's a family affair. His name is Nugget.
Well, give Nugget some extra blood worms tonight.
I know, really. Have to go out and find some mosquito larvae for him. Yeah, yes.
It's working beautifully.
I know, it's working amazing. It's totally perfect. So I'm just filling in all these little green leaves. And there was a spot, because I was also multitasking and trying to log in, that I went over and my fingerprint is there. That's not going to matter, because I'm going to make the background of this one black.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. If you accidentally got over the lines, quote unquote, what would you do? And that's right. If you're going to make it black, it really does.
I'm going to make the background completely black on this one, because I think that will be really neat. I've usually only been doing 2 colors on these, and maybe coloring the leaves green, but this one I'm going to do 3 colors: the green, the 2 colors for the flower, and then, well, actually, I guess that would be 4 colors, black at the end.
So you can get
the white swirly will be white on black.
Yeah.
So this will be the swirly curly Q thing right on black. which will be amazing looking, I think.
Mom tried to get him to do it yesterday.
So that's the other thing. I mean, colors, do what you love. Do the colors you love, because if it's your art, then you want to love it. Don't worry about whether they go together, because if you love them, then in your opinion, they go together.
Right.
But the, like this was perhaps, I guess it was probably dark pink body and thorax of the dragonfly, purplish wings with very white laciness, and then just the turquoise and green. And that's not left in the green for very long. So actually you can't tell on this one. So now for the next color, I am going to stick this in.
Yeah, it's by a droid.
I guess we'll do pink. So it's going to drop in pink. And as you can see, it's already really pink.
Everybody loves that.
I mean,
because,
Wow.
it's crazy. That is crazy fast.
That is really bright color.
It is. It's super bright. And a lot of them that I do that are more like scenes, and I want to have like sky color, I actually took some royal blue and just watered it way down, like really way down, so that it's just like a light sky blue.
So if you want to control the intensity of a color, if you add more water, or what's the other ingredient to the dye besides the powder? Is it vinegar?
On all of the dyes except for orange, you can add a little bit of vinegar, and then they also sell it's like a little white crystally powder stuff that's like setting powder. It is not handy, so I could read the label on it. But it's essentially like something to make it more permanent.
And do you
sort of
that?
chemical.
And
I do put that in, yeah. But okay. You have to be super careful on orange that you don't ever put vinegar anywhere near it, and that especially even crossing over from the yellow into the orange, you may even actually want to rinse off the egg, because the vinegar will still be there and it will clump up the orange and make it really yucky. And it's totally ruined after that. So right now my orange is on the outs, and too many people went from one, oh, I just want like 2 things yellow and I'm just going to cover them up real fast and then dunk it right back in the orange. And so that ended up making it super clumpy. So here is
wow,
just in a paper towel, quick to get most of the dye off. And you do end up with figures that look like that, and it takes a while. It wears off. You don't want to use anything that you're ever going to eat on again, ever. The chemicals are really not good. So I have totally separate, thrift store utensils and jars. Everything is never ever going to be food worthy ever again.
That's good.
So yes, it's super important to just keep safe. So this Kiska is almost empty. I don't know if you can see down inside.
Oh, I saw a hole. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah. You can see the hole. Yep. So when you're adding wax to it, you want to heat it way up. You see the little smoke here, and then just come up from the side with a tiny little bit.
Oh, okay.
Just taking a teeny tiny little bit off the edge until it's kind of full, and you can kind of see it at the top now, glossy, and then heat that back up because that's all very liquidy, and now it's dripping out. I don't know if you can see that, but now I'm going to cover up what I want to stay pink. So I'm going to alternate. The center I'll do the center of that flower I covered in, and that will be pink. And the next layer will be a different color, and I'll cover in this big outer part of the flower.
Everything you want to stay pink now is going to have wax on it. So eventually the whole egg will be, almost the whole egg will be black, or just the design, all the design will be black?
The design will be completely covered in black, whatever you want to keep those colors. So like I said, here I'm going to probably heat my little guy up and just fill in. And there looks like there was a few places on this that stayed white. So I don't know if it was that the egg got wax on it at some point, or they just didn't take the dye. So I'm actually, like I said, I'm actually going to cheat here a little and kind of just empty it out.
So is it dry relatively fast? Because the way you're emptying it out, I would be afraid it would like drip down everywhere all over the egg.
There's not a lot in here. It's
almost empty. Okay.
Gosh, I mean, so here's the size of the egg, and there's the size of the kiska. It's very tiny. It's really not a lot of wax in there.
So, but does it dry relatively fast when it hits the egg, when the wax?
Oh yeah, as soon as it comes out and hits the egg, the wax is dry. Yep.
Oh, very good. Okay.
It hardens up very quickly, and it just becomes so. Can you see how glossy that is when it's wet?
Yep.
So I'm just going to move that around. Make sure I cover.
Not like dripping everywhere, which you're afraid of. Cool.
Right. And it's one of those things, Cindy, that I think you get the hang of using the tool and using the the dyes as you go along. It's not it's not super hard. So I'm probably, since really the only other color, if I was just going to do the two main body colors, I would now dip the whole entire egg in. But I'm really only going to dye this little tiny spot here. So I'm just going to use a Q-tip and just stick it in, so we don't have to wait as long for it to dry before
expensive tools you're using.
Cover this up. Oh yeah, I know, Q-tips. So I'm going to I'll do bright red, I guess, for that little centerpiece.
Now I understand that the traditional Ukrainian eggs have meanings to their colors, that they colors with purpose. Can you share a little bit?
So definitely, white is purity. These all make a lot of sense. Yellow is wealth and prosperity. So any of the yellows, golds, of course, gold, wealth and prosperity. Any of your greens are for growth. The power of plants, nature. Blues is good health. Orange is for power and endurance. Brown represents Mother Earth. Pink represents success. And your reds are love, also life and happiness. So, and I guess I don't know what black is. I don't know what black represents. So maybe we'll have to, that can be homework.
But most of them have black on them. Most of the eggs back in the day had black on them.
Back in the day, the last thing you put it in is the black, so that everything else stands out and is so incredibly vivid.
Okay. Yes, it is. It really does make all the color pop around it.
So that's just going to be a little bit different red in the center, and I just thoroughly soaked it with the little Q-tip, and I'm just going to blot it off, and then we'll cover that up and then dunk it in the black so you can see how amazing.
So just blotting it off is drying it enough that when you put the wax on, it'll adhere to the egg?
Yes, it will. Yep. The wax is pretty stubborn. Like I said, if you make a drip or a blop or a screw up somewhere, a line where you didn't want it,
Yeah, she found it.
it's gonna stay there. I mean, you could try the lighter fluid trick, but I'm gonna say it's gonna stay there. I even, when I'm doing a lot of these, I even put a cotton glove on my left hand so that I don't put any oils from my skin. I do wash my hands really well before I start, so the oils from the skin are gone. Like, don't put lotion on and get all lotiony, because that will absorb into the egg as well.
Oh, yeah.
But I do put a white cotton glove on so that my hand that holds the egg, I don't worry about the other hand, because I hardly ever touch the egg with my dominant hand. So now that that's covered, I'm going to dip it in black.
Did you know in California
And
they are
so it looks like really black soup or something.
Yeah.
So you keep your dyes in whatever containers you have that are the airtight containers? They have to be
Yeah, I've really actually this black is getting not quite as vivid over the time that we've been using it this spring. But we'll deal with it. It might come out purple with the pink underneath. My favorite container right now is this type of coconut oil, Luana coconut oil container. It's like 1 pint and 14 fluid ounces, so 30 fluid ounces, and it's the perfect size, and the covers fit great. And you can, the covers are pure white. You can just, this one says royal blue.
Is it glass or is it plastic?
No, it's a white plastic container. So we did have this trouble last Sunday, or Palm Sunday. We did a class, and towards the end of the class, it was clear that the black wasn't as black. I tried to replace the colors at least every 2 years. They last about 2 years, the dyes.
You must have been reading my mind, because I was going to ask you that.
Keep them somewhere safe and closed. They're good for.
Should they be in a dark room? Should they be in a dark area? No,
I don't think so. I guess if they were sitting in a window and they were in clear glass, like I have the green in a, looks like a salsa jar. I'm going to say it was salsa, and the red is in a maybe pickles. Who knows? But I do prefer the plastic. The covers tighten, in my opinion, more efficiently, tighten better, and also come off easier. Like last 2 Sundays ago, we were saying, well, we may not get green because no one can get the cover off. But after, I don't know, 5 of us had tried it and it came back to me. I ended up getting it off. But I do like those coconut oil containers. So this is not quite as black as I'd hoped it would end up being.
It looks pretty good from this distance.
It's a very dark purple right now, but you know what? That's what it's supposed to be, because really, there's what did that guy say? Happy accidents.
Yes. Bob Ross.
Green. Oh, Bob Ross. Yes. Happy accidents, or happy trees.
Happy trees. Happy clouds.
Happy accidents. Yeah. So it's actually almost like a very cobalty, blackish blue.
So what are you using? What are you using to wipe off the?
I'm just using a standard paper towel, and then I will get a clean paper towel when I take the wax off, which we'll do right now. And that will be so fun, because you'll be like, oh, that's so super ugly. And then it's going to become beautiful and pretty. So
you recommend the paper towels over a rag or something like that?
Yeah, well, the wax will impregnate the rag. You'll end up tossing it. I suppose if you had a whole bunch of T-shirts that you just were ready to toss at that point, you could, just do that. and just toss it after that. But the paper towel really is just probably easy. So I'm going to put this so you guys can see that candle. Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right.
And this is the part, right?
This is the part. Yep. So it's really important not to put it right over top because the candle will let off soot, and the soot will be super hard to get off the egg.
Oh,
So I just put it next to it, and what I'll do is I'll hold it this way. Can you see it starting to get glossy?
yep.
It's very dull looking, and then it starts to get a glossy look to it. Yep, it's starting to look glossy. And when it starts to look glossy, it's melting. Oops, definitely melting because it's coming right off.
You're gonna
and
start.
then you wipe it away.
Look at that. That is so beautiful.
And then it comes right off. That's how easy it is. And I know, people are going to say, oh, what your little swirly lines are just so swirly. And some of them have bumps in them, but with those little dots next to them, it's hard to see the little bumps in the swirly lines. So I'm just wiping this right on a paper towel.
Yeah.
And the wax is coming off. And I keep forgetting that the camera's over there. So it's more revealing every time you go across, reveal more and more beautiful.
I love how the colors just pop when you get the wax off. It's just
they're so vibrant, really. And even like I said, I have some that are super watered down because I want the sky to look like sky. I forget, I did one for a friend that has a farm, so I did a farm scene and a fence, and so it was a barn, and then there was a cow jumping over the moon, which is my favorite little fun thing. But in order to make the sky look really sky-like, instead of having it look very artificial like this one, like crazy color, like I said, I diluted down some royal blue and made it just a very light blue. I should have taken a picture of that little barn scene. That was really cute.
oh, it must have been adorable.
So it's starting to come off.
Do you feel like, a person has to know how to draw? Like you say a cow over a moon. So I'm thinking I would have to know how to draw a cow.
Well, like I said, Ed Emberley has some great images and ways of breaking things down. And then I'll do something like print out. Well, this is a whole bunch of things on this piece of paper, but even just that fern, I'll print it out as an idea. Like, hey, I could do a fern and I could have it like that. So here's some cute little animals. And a cow jumping over the moon.
Cool.
So these are the Boynton characters here. I think that's also Boynton. That too, that's somebody else, and that's just a generic dinosaur. So I was teaching a kids class. I wanted to have a bunch of things that kids could use in terms of ideas, something to spark a creative idea and moment. So you're just going to keep turning this till you keep having clean paper, because you don't really want to be rubbing the.
Ruth, to put your design on to start with, when you had the white egg and you did, you showed us this already had the beginning of a design on it, but how do you freehand your design on there, or do you take a pencil and draw it first and then?
You could draw with a pencil first. You could definitely draw with a pencil first. The pencil will come off when you're doing this. The taking the wax off is almost like erasing the pencil when you do that, if you do the pencil ahead of time. But yeah, so here we have, it's pretty much
beautiful.
So I don't know what happened here. and here. We were probably talking, and somehow I dripped
The spots.
a spot. So it's a spot of pink, and like I had said earlier, with this tiny spot of white that I noticed that didn't take the pink, but it is what it is. It's whatever. Over here, I was drawing, and usually I don't intersect anything. And I was like, oh, well, I got the thing there, and then I still need to whatever. So I just made it wrap around. So it ends up working. Now you can take a little tiny, I'll just use this for demonstration purpose, but you could take a little tiny skewer, stick it in the end, and then take, if you can find it over there, Catherine, it's the spray bottle. It's like a glossy varnish. Okay. And so if you've got the, you know, yeah, it looks like hairspray. If you've got a little tiny, I just use the skewers that you'd use for shish kebabs, the little bamboo ones, to hold the egg up, and then you just it's clear varnish.
Okay.
And you just have to do that outside. You just don't do that inside the house.
Right.
And just a quick light spray over it, like maybe once, and then check it and see if it needs another spray somewhere else. And then, like I said, I put those little these are also available at the Ukrainian gift shop. These little tiny, gold I think they call them findings, and you just and I saved the containers so that you would be able to see the name of the glue that I use. It's E6000. It dries completely clear, so even if you get a little on the outside, it's completely clear, and it's not going to look awful. Yeah, so I just leave it sitting up in the egg carton. Just make sure it's perfectly sitting up straight, because it does take, like I said, like 72 hours to completely dry.
And you use
have the tendency to.
You use a gloss finish.
I do use the gloss finish, but I don't finish all of them. Sometimes I don't put the gloss on at all, but it does strengthen the egg. It does seem to give it a little bit more durability. But yeah.
Very good.
So,
well, that's exciting. And do you have a website that you would like? I mean, he is adorable.
You could put my email address if people want to get a hold of me, if they want any. I would be totally happy to personalize eggs for people. I've done little, like this one is my friend's last name, Tong. I gave them the one that was picked. So on this one, Cindy, I had to color in everything. Well, first I dyed the egg red, and then I only left out the letters. Everything else was covered. And that's their last name in Chinese.
Oh, that was beautiful. I got a picture of that one on the video.
Yeah. So some of the little spots, you can see little tiny specks of black where they should be, are places that I missed putting the.
You intended those to be there. Yes, they were intentional.
There's a few eggs. If you ever look, I mean, you can look them up online. There's a few eggs that the background ends up being white. And that's kind of a reverse. You do all the colors and then you dip it in bleach.
Oh.
So that's kind of, you still build up from lightest to darkest. And then your last step is to go into bleach. It's like a bleach water, but it's very bleachy.
And it doesn't take away the wax?
It doesn't, no. Oh. No, you still need to take the wax off with the candle.
That's pretty. I got to try that someday.
Yeah, there's, so like I said, I Google all these, pictures for my classes so that kids can see them, or adults can see them and say, oh yeah, I think I'll try that kind of thing. So this is more of a traditional Ukrainian Easter egg designs.
So is there also meaning to the design?
Yes, absolutely. So we were talking about the colors, the designs. So your ribbons or belts, anything encircling the egg with no beginning and end is eternity. So a circle going completely around the egg, like on the one with the little circle shape. So that line that's going completely around the egg, that would represent eternity. Any of your water symbols, like the,
Waves.
water shape, represents protection and health. Dots, circles, petals can represent Mary's tears or love. Those are, kind of both. Diamonds represent knowledge. The net, so it's like cross hatching in the shape of a net, is represents Christ, the fisher of men. A basket, so it's kind of the same, but it's more on a diagonal. The basket shape is representing of the bread basket. Triangles represent your Trinity, either the Holy Trinity or fire, air, and water. Ladders can represent prayer or steps to heaven. Stars, they once represented the pagan god Altar, but they now stand for Christ and love. And the cross, of course, is a form of Christianity, and it once stood for the four corners of the earth as well. And that can be just anything that's cross shaped. It doesn't have to necessarily be the shape of a Christian cross, but anything crossed like that. Squirrels and snakes represent protection from evil. Leaves represent life and growth. Flowers, beauty and humility. Pine needles, youth, strength and health. Grapes and or grapevines represent the growth of the Christian church. Wheat, it represents the health and harvest. Birds is fertility, of course, and the fulfillment of wishes. Butterflies and insects are the symbol of the resurrection. Deers and horses, wealth and prosperity. Rams or ram's horns, even just the horn represented shape, is wealth, prosperity, and protection. Wolves' teeth, and that's just like tiny little triangles all in a row.
You get the
Represent is, and that's the shape. Actually going to try to show that to you right there. Can you see that? Tiny wool, tiny little.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Straight up and down. So that represents protection. Any of your fish, Christianity or Christ, and the fox represents protection.
Oh.
So that's, geometric motifs, plants and animal motifs. I'm sure there even could be more. And this was from www.pysanka.com. And so that's another place that you can go online to get instruction, the steps. And there's also a kind of a picture of how you should be set up. And so this just explains, have a comfortable chair, have workplace tissue paper,
and we'll find that piece of paper you're holding on how to set up our area. If we do
this particular one was allthingsukrainian.com, and it's under the beginner class. And it's pretty easy. Have a comfy sweater is one of them.
Have a comfy sweater.
Thank you.
One that you don't mind getting wax on, just in case.
Just in case, right. Or dye.
Oh,
yes.
And then you can't get that off of your clothing once it's on there?
I'm going to say no, because I've never gotten it out. Although my daughter did get some on her boots the other day, and it did come off. So.
Well, that's good.
Just throwing that out there. Right.
And so a lot of the designs are based around their faith, and they would give these as gifts to people to bring them wealth or health or.
Yeah. And a lot of the young women would give them as kind of date me, kind of like, this is what I'm capable of producing, you know, art wise. So
it was like their resume. Are you saying?
it is kind of, yeah, dropping it off at all the single people, and yeah. So it's and people use them as gifts for, you know, the butcher. If you have a butcher you use all the time and you would normally give them a gift at Christmas time, I think that they would give the gift at Easter time, but
Okay.
it's very similar to, you know, our mailmen. You know, write a thank you note and give them something, and that's, you know, that would be kind of how they would gift the eggs to people as a thank you. It's super fun, and I just think it's very creative, and it's an outlet for people to do something creatively.
Well, that's awesome. Well, an hour has gone by already, amazingly enough. And I want to thank Ruth and thank all of you who joined and those who will watch the replay for being here. This was exciting. I learned a lot, and I hope you did too. I think this is a really fun technique, and I hope that you venture out to try it, because I really do think it is relaxing, as well as giving the gift, a personal gift like that means a lot. And so I'm going to say thank you again, Ruth, and I'm going to sign off. Keep calm and paint on.